What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Kangaroo Black coming back once again because I found an article that I want to talk about. And this article is criticizing my Alabama Crimson Tide, especially my quarterback, Jalen Milroe. And it's sad to say that I agree with basically everything in the article. And I want to share this with Alabama fans because we have seen this, everything this article is saying, we have seen it. So if you're an Alabama fan and you disagree with what this article is saying, it's in my opinion that you fooling yourselves. So let's get into it. It's kind of long, so I'm going to try to get through it as quick as I can. And I found it on Bama Hammer. And the title of it is Alabama's Fatal Offensive Defect Has Been an Over-Reliance on a Flawed Jalen Milroe. Alabama football goes only as far as Jalen Milroe will take them. And when defenses are able to take away what Milroe does best, then the Crimson Tide has no counter. That's true. Anyway, this article is written by John Mitchell. Okay. Jalen Milroe is an undeniably talented football player. He has some great moments as the Alabama quarterback and has won big games throughout his 2 seasons as the team's starting quarterback. But it's also fair to point out that Milroe is a deeply flawed quarterback, and Kalen Deboer and offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan's over-reliance on him has been the fatal flaw for the Crimson Tide offense. This came to a head in a 24-3 loss to a mediocre Oklahoma team in Norman, Oklahoma on Saturday night. It was the lowest scoring output for an Alabama team in 20 years. It was the first time since 2011 that Alabama was held out of the end zone. Lowest output in 20 years, and the first time since 2011 my Alabama Crimson Tide failed to score a damn touchdown. Pathetic. Pathetic. But anyway, goes on to say, this kind of offensive outing was a long time coming. So according to this author of this article, he's seen it before it happened. It's just, as fans, a lot of fans, we are blinded by the good points, the elite play when it happens. And we tend to forget about everything else. When we have elite play, we forget about the flaws, just like with LSU. Jalen Milroe did what he does best, and that's run. And we forgot about South Florida. We left that in the past. We forgot about Vandy. Left that in the past. We forgot about Tennessee. Left that in the past. Especially when we played LSU and how Jalen Milroe and that offense performed. But hey, let's keep going. Go back. This kind of offensive outing was a long time coming. We saw a glimpse of it against Tennessee when Alabama struggled on offense and fell to the Volunteers 24-7. It was 10 times worse than that this past weekend. The game was worse than the Vanderbilt game. At least Alabama was competitive in those first 2 losses. They didn't even compete against a team that came in just 5-5 and fighting for bowl eligibility, while Alabama was still fighting for a national championship. We didn't compete in that game. We didn't compete. It was like we couldn't compete. We got dominated on both sides of the ball. I done said all this. Anyway, when the clock hit 0 in Norman and Oklahoma fans stormed the field, the Sooner had achieved bowl eligibility, while Alabama was proven to be a pretender in the college football playoff race. This guy said Alabama was a pretender. And it's sad that old KB is agreeing with him. Agreeing that his Alabama Crimson Tide was a pretender all along. Anyway, this team was going to go as far as Miro took them against Oklahoma. Miro drove them off a cliff. And I don't place blame squarely on Miro's feet, though I know a lot of Alabama fans will. I think the play calling was poor, and offensive coordinator Nick Sheridan did him no favors. Kalen Deboer often looked perplexed and without answers on the sideline, and that is true. The play calling was poor, and I'm not just on offense, on both sides of the ball. Defense too. The play calling was poor. Piss poor. But anyway, then it goes on, talking about Brent Venables. Oklahoma head coach Brent Venables cut his teeth as a defensive coordinator, and a dang good one too. He had his team prepared to stop Alabama's greatest weapon, Miro's legs. 2 weeks ago, Miro ran away from, and around LSU's defense. Obviously, DeBoer and Sheridan expected a similar result against Oklahoma, and it was obvious. And it was obvious that Brent Venables and his defensive staff prepared to stop Jalen Miro. And they executed that game plan to a T. To a T. Anyway, unfortunately, the Sooners came in as one of the nation's stingiest rushing defense, giving up on 2.5 yards a carry on the season. They stifled Miro's running ability time and time again, and Alabama failed to adjust. It was like watching a struggling pitcher who had lost his fastball, except the offense couldn't throw a slider, a curveball, a splitter, or even a changeup. They couldn't do nothing else. Jalen Miro lost his fastball, and Nick Sheridan couldn't come up with nothing else. Took it away. Or Nick Sheridan lost his fastball, and he couldn't come up with nothing else. Just go to the well, even though the well is dry, hoping you're going to get something the next time. That's all it was. Anyway, Miro's flaws are well documented. It's sad for me to read this, but hey, I'm going to do it anyway. He doesn't read defenses well. He consistently makes improper reads on the read option and RPOs. He can be mistake prone and turn the ball over too much. All this was on full display Saturday night. He threw 3 interceptions, one which was a pick six, and managed just 7 yards on 15 rushing attempts. Man. Yeah, that was true. We almost done. All right. Jam Miller and Justice Haynes combined for 63 yards on 15 attempts. Justice Haynes, only getting 3 carries is a total mystery. And yes, it is. If I was him, I'll be totally upset. When you build the whole ship out of one player, if that player doesn't perform well, then the whole boat is going to sink. And that's true. Alabama could have theoretically survived a bad Miro game in Norman. They would have needed the defense not to surrender 260 rushing yards. 257 to be exact. And y'all want me to keep praising freaking Kane Womack. Everybody know he's not a good coordinator for my Alabama Crimson Tide. Everybody knows it. Except for a select few Alabama fans. And I think they know it. They just don't want to admit it out loud. That's all it is. But anyway, yeah. Maybe we could have survived a bad game in Norman, Oklahoma, if the defense could stop something. If Kane Womack would get out of his own way and switch up the damn defense. Stubborn ass. But anyway, and they would have had needed play calling that featured the running backs more in the running game when it was obvious from the opening drive of the game how Oklahoma was keying on the design QB runs. And yes, it was obvious from the first drive. And yet we never went away from it. From the first snap to the last snap. Never went away from it. It was so obvious any fan could see what was going on. And any fan would tell you, play the same defense that Oklahoma is playing. That's all you got to do. Stack the box. Stop the QB run. Some people might say, well, that'll open up the passing game. Well, take your chances. If you've been watching film, you already know they don't have receivers. They just don't have it. But hey, trust your defensive backs. You've been doing the previous three games. Trust them in this game. But no, you went back to the bullshit. Some of the best edge rushers in college football, you got them playing coverage when all the opponent is doing is basically running the freaking ball. Just dumb. But anyway, keep it moving. Instead, the coaching staff just sat back and played and prayed that Miro would figure it out. They watched him make mistakes in the RPO and read options. They watched him stare down receivers and get baited into back-to-back picks. They left him out there and watched the offense die a slow, painful death. Let me read that again. They left him out there and watched the offense die a slow, painful death. Shit. The defense died a slow, painful death too. And this is the second time they died a slow, painful death against Vanderbilt. Because Vanderbilt was doing the same freaking thing on the offensive side of the ball. Anyway, let me keep going, man. I wonder if at any point there was any thought of giving Ty Simpson a shot. That would be a difficult decision to bench a guy who is the leader on the team. But at a certain point, even pulling him for a drive might have settled him down some. Not doing so makes me believe that the coaching staff has little faith in Simpson to pilot the offense. Unfortunately, it's too late to do anything about it now. Too late in the season to change course. This staff hitched its wagon to Miro for better and for worse. And now Alabama is 8-3. Its worst record through 11 games in 17 years. Nick Saban's first year. And his hopes of playing for an SEC championship or going to the college football playoff came to a deflating end in Norman, Oklahoma. Boy, did they criticize my Alabama Crimson Tide, especially my quarterback, and especially my coach. Well, they criticized everybody. And guess what? I agree with every word this article said. Every freaking word. And if you're an Alabama fan, you should agree. I know every fan outside of the Alabama fan base agrees with this article just like KB do. Because it is nothing but the truth, and I couldn't have put it no better way. This article sums up every freaking thing I've been feeling. And now it might give fans a greater understanding, or fans outside of Alabama football, a greater understanding of why Alabama fans is feeling the way they feeling. Alabama fans ain't gonna tolerate this, man. But yeah, man, it's crazy, man. But I ain't gonna harp on it, cause I already knew this. A lot of fans already knew it. So ain't no use in harping on it. It's in the past now. Let's move on to Auburn. But I just want to share this article with y'all, and I am sure y'all agree with it. So let me go ahead and get out of here. Until next time, y'all be blessed. And remember, KB don't give a piss about nothing but the Tide, even though we in the state that we are. It's always going to be Roll Tide.